I'll summarize. I'll summarize what I wrote for last night. And I'm pausing the music for this one. Okay. I'm not going to get into too graphic detail on this and such, for everyone's sake. But I shall tell you a tale of long ago, back when the Halceon were still around. There was a man by the name of Melodius. Originally, his name was Melodios, the name change happening later on. However, he was a representation, a guardian of purity, and he was the leader of the Halceon. But one day, as he was strolling about his quarters, he felt sick, like some bile was slowly crawling up his throat, and he coughed. He was coughing until this black liquid came out of his mouth. And he was afraid because he, being the representation of purity, was not meant to be corrupted. But this led to him hiding such afflictions from his friends, his fellow members of the Halceon. So as time ticked by and events occurred, the worse and worse Melodius got. Until one fateful day, when he was no longer in control of his own body. Instead of it being their kind and loving and caring friend, there was only pure hatred and malice in his eyes, but cunning and slow. This monster that was now in Melodius waited and watched. He learned the weaknesses of everyone and how trusting they were of Melodius. Until the day he struck. There were several that he asked to accompany him to the Xenon room, the area where the energy that Melodius used was held. Melodius's energy, in all of its purity. A circular room, not really too elaborate, but dark, as there was no windows within this room, and only a shining ball that was the Xenon energy. However, as Melias, Calix, Phalios, Lovi, and Galaeth entered the room, the twins, Devoid and Devi, suddenly left, as when they got further into the room, they noticed something on the floor, just out of sight. It was Nuea, Melodius' sister, long since passed by the hands of what would be her brother. As the realization came to hit for everyone in the room, they tried to act as quickly as they could. But as they did so, they were outmatched. He moved quicker than anyone else. Olivia and Goliath were the first to go down. And Melias would have been next, if it wasn't for the case in point of Calyx stepping up to defend her. But even still, Calyx was no match for the beast that was Melodious. As Melias was frantically trying to heal him, Valios, the pirate, fought against the man he had risked his life and arm to save. But even still, none of them were able to prevail. As Melias watched her friends' lives simply disappear in front of her, she was faced with the decision to accept her fate or run. Fear closely kept its grip on her throat, not allowing her to speak as she watched in fear as the once beautiful pale blue eyes that looked like frost on a gilded lily were now nothing more than red burning coals of hate. And a sick, twisted feeling that lay within them. As she was nearly about to be ended, she finally found the courage to run after once more looking at her fallen friends. She uttered the words that helped her to escape. Her last final grace. But even still, as she was whisked away out of the grasp, she could only run. She ran as quickly as she could, trying desperately to think of who she could go to. Her first thought was her longtime childhood friend, Dupin. The god of the Hearthstone, of blacksmith. But even still, as she thought of it, she knew that if she went to him, she'd be leading death right to her old friend. But she had to try, for no one would know what fate would befall them if this thing, her old friend, succeeded in getting rid of everyone. But even still, as she ran through the dark forest, illuminated by moonlight, she could hear the chilling voice not far behind her. The chilling voice that once was filled with such vigor and happiness that only sought death now. She weaved through the trees, trying to escape, but she knew that her injuries could not keep up as she was gasping from every single step she took. Yet as she made her way, his taunting cries filled the forests, until suddenly he was right in her ear, and she stumbled to try and get away from him. No longer did she realize, was it her friend? It was no longer Melodious, but a demon. One, seemingly, of the very demons they had fought in their youth. But even still, as he laid ready to deal her the same fate as her friends, she fought back. For Melias was a Ramiro, descended from a family who are known for their proud nature, being represented by the lion. Yet even as she called upon ancient spirits and magic that she had long known, it was fruitless. Yet again, he was quicker than her. And just before she was dealt the kiss of death, she could only watch and listen in fear as he told her these words. Unlike the others, I can choose how badly I want to tear you apart out here, and no one can stop me.